Let's take a look at this next example of tree diagram probability. I've got two boxes, each containing 6 petunia plants that are not yet flowering. Box A contains 2 plants. I'm going to highlight that. 2 plants that will have purple flowers and 4 plants that will have white flowers. Box B contains 5 plants that will have purple flowers and 1 plant that will have white flowers. A box is selected by tossing a coin, and 1 plant is removed at random from it. We want to determine the probability that will have purple flowers. So a couple things. There's this kind of a bigger picture to this problem here. Maybe actually, well, I'm saying picture. Let's actually draw a picture of what's going on. I've got 2 boxes. Maybe I'll draw box A, and there's 6 petunias. So we'll divide that up into thirds and then cut that in half. Let's say that's box A. And then I also have box B. Looks something like this. And it says that I have 2 plants that will be purple in box A. So 2 of these are purple and the rest are white. Box B has 5 plants that will be purple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1 plant that's white. Okay, so when I'm creating this tree diagram to illustrate this thing, I want to remind myself, what are the events that are occurring? Well, I would say event number 1, let me grab my highlighter here. The first event is tossing a coin. So that's the first thing that happens. And then the second event is that 1 plant is removed. So basically when I'm creating my branches, my first set of branches is that coin toss. So let's see how that plays out, how that's illustrated in my tree diagram here. So the first thing will be the coin toss. And with the coin toss, this one is 50-50, so I'm going to write 1/2 and 1/2 for my chances here. And this first 1/2 will be a branch that corresponds to flipping and choosing the box A. So there's a 1/2 chance that my flip will yield a choice of box A. And there's a 50-50 chance or a 1/2 chance that I'll yield a box B. So from there, we now next need to identify what the chances are in that second event. The second event is removing a plant. So if I'm only looking at box A, let's look at the probabilities that are at play there. There's 2 possible outcomes. I could pull a purple plant or I could pull a white plant. And there is a 2 out of 6 or 1/3 chance in box A to pull a purple plant, since there's 2 of them out of the whole 6. And then there's a 4 out of 6 or a 2/3 chance of pulling a white petunia from that. Looking at box B, if I were to randomly have landed on box B to pull a plant, there is a 5/6 chance of pulling out a purple petunia from box B, and then there is a 1/6 chance of pulling out a white petunia from box B. So I want to figure out the probability of picking purple flowers. So what I'm interested in is all of the outcomes that end with a purple flower. So again, I'm going to grab that highlighter and I'm just going to kind of trace those branches. I could start this way and end at this branch, or I could go this way and end at this branch. So let's take a look at what those probabilities are to get me to each of those tails of those branches. So the probability of landing here is going to be given as 1/2, that's this probability, times 1/3, that's my second probability. So there's a 1 in 6 chance that I will grab a purple flower in the A box. And then similarly, I'm going to find the probability of getting 1/2 to select box B times 5/6 chance of pulling a purple flower out of box B. So that's going to be giving me a 5/12 chance. So both of these possibilities will end up with a purple flower. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm just going to kind of add up these probabilities, since that will represent the sum total of ways to get this this purple flower. If you recall from the previous video, we talked about, like, if I were to add up all of the outcomes that should equal to 1, well, I'm only interested in adding up the outcomes that end up with a purple flower. So we're going to actually add 1/6 plus 5/12. And maybe I'll just write this as 2/12 to get a common denominator. So this is going to end up equaling 7 out of 12 chances that this is going to have a purple flower. So this was a little bit trickier. I had to identify what the events were, and then I had to break down the probabilities of each of the outcomes available. The other tricky part is identifying all of the desirable branches and then adding up those total probabilities that would get me to those branches. So why don't you try that same type of thing in this second example. So you try number 2, identify the events, make your tree diagram, calculate those probabilities, and good luck. Pause the video, check out the answers. All right, and here are my answers for this one. I've got my tree diagram, and I've got my final probability of 17 out of 40.